the first to circumnavigate the globe. Was neither Magellan or Elcano. According to some historians, it was Enrique of Moluccas. Solid evidence that Enrique of Moluccas was a Cebuano or Filipino.
Good day to all of you guys. In this blog, we will learn from some historians who had written this book that it was neither Vasquez, Sebastian del Cano, or Magellan or any other who first circumnavigate the world or the globe, and that it was Enrique of Moluccas. And they claimed that Enrique of Moluccas was really a Cebuano, and they have claims or solid evidences that Enrique was a Cebuano. So it's written here, did you know that the first man to circumnavigate the globe was neither Vasquez, Sebastian del Cano, nor any other, but a Filipino, and by tribe a Cebuano? That he had a great share in the maiden attempt of Christianization of the Philippines? Yes, without his presence, the Spaniards might have not been able to proselytize immediately the natives of Cebu. As an official interpreter, his role in all transactions and communications was very vital. So this is about Enrique of Moluccas, guys. In fact, when Magellan personally delivered sermons to explain to the native audience in Cebu about the principal doctrines and beliefs of the Christian religion, Enrique, his slave interpreter, translated it for him for the sake of intimate information. May I dedicate some page of this book in his memory, the man that is deserving to be honored as a hero along with many others like Rizal and Bonifacio, but mislooked, if not intentionally neglected and forgotten to be included in details in the pages of history. So, Enrique of Moluccas, he was given by Magellan a Christian name of Enrique, or some knew him as Henry the Great or Henry the Black. So previously, we mentioned that Magellan found a teenage slave in the thriving slave market in Malacca. The young slave undoubtedly must have informed him that he had come from a place farther east of Borneo. The next scenario was that Magellan brought this young boy along with him in his adventures around the world. From Malacca, he and Enrique returned to Portugal in 1512 to tell King Emmanuel of Portugal his ambitious plan to explore the other side of the globe to find the Spice Islands. He was bitterly disappointed when the royal court of Lisbon decided to send him instead to an expedition to Morocco to fight against the pirates of the Mediterranean. In all of these itineraries, Enrique was with him. He was also taken by his master to India, to Africa. traveled thence to Brazil and Patagonia, and first of all, the population of the world, traversing the oceans, circling the globe. He returned to the region where men spoke a familiar language or familiar tongue. Having made the acquaintance on the way with hundreds of peoples and tribes and races, each of which had a different way of communicating thought, he had got back to his own folks, when he could understand and who could understand him. Since it was really in the mind of Magellan the plan to discover the Spice Islands, and the Portuguese king continued to ignore him, he finally decided to renounce his Portuguese citizenship and left for Spain in 1517 to propose his bold plan to the Spanish king. Finally, King Charles I, or Carlos I of Spain, agreed and even built and prepared 5 battleships for that grand expedition. So September 20, 1519, Magellan lifted anchor from the southern port of Sanlúcar de Barrameda to start the long and dangerous voyage to the unknown world. Great hunger and thirst plagued the sailors while traversing the vast Pacific Ocean. After more than a year of navigation, they reached Guam, which they call Ladrones Islands. Then dropped Ladrones Islands. Maybe this is the one that is the islands of the thieves, because the natives there, they stole some properties or of the Spaniards. So it is called Ladrones Islands, or islands of the thieves. Then dropped anchor there for a few days and then sailed again, and in March 16, 1521 reached the first small island of Samar, probably Calikuan Island. The next day, the vessels lowered their anchor farther south in the island, now known as Humunhon. So here it is written here, the solid evidence that Enrique was a Cebuano. When the expedition reached the islands of Calikuan and Humunhon in Samar, Magellan was still using hand signs to communicate with the native islanders, because Enrique could not simply understand their local Enrique could not understand their local language, for they spoke waray-waray. When they landed on Limasawa Island and Cebu, Enrique was enjoying fluency with their Cebuano dialect. In his article, C. Quirino, one of historians, has this to say: Stefan Zweig, the eminent Austrian historian, in his biography of Magellan titled Conqueror of the Seas, 1938, stated in one of his concluding paragraphs, the Limasawa Islanders surrounded Enrique, chattering and shouting, and the Malay slave was dumbfounded, for he understood much of what they were saying. He understood their questions. It was a good many years since he had been snatched from his home. A good many years since he had last heard his native speech. What an amazing moment, one of the most remarkable in the history of mankind. For the first time since our planet had begun to spin on its axis and to circle in its orbit, a living man himself circling the planet had got back to his homeland. No matter that he was an underling slave, for his significance lies in his fate and not on his personality. In all probability, Enrique had come from one of the southern towns of Cebu, or Karkar, was captured by sea marauders or pirates, sold in Hulu and brought to Malacca, where slaves fetched better prices because of the presence of the Europeans. So from Cebu to Malacca to Portugal and Lisbon, then to Morocco, also to India, Africa, Brazil, and Patagonia. From Spain, crossed the vast Pacific Ocean, reached the Ladrones Island, or Guam, down to the Philippines, and finally back home to Cebu, his native land. Although Sebastian Delcano made the first continuous voyage around the globe, Enrique was the first man to do so, although it covered a span of about a decade. So this is the writings of some historians, guys, and claims that they believe solid evidences that it was neither Magellan nor Sebastian Delcano who first circumnavigate the world, and it was actually Enrique of Moluccas, and Enrique of Moluccas was actually a Cebuano according to these historians. And so this is Guam, guys. The distant view of the place in Ladrones Island, now Guam, where Ferdinand Magellan's ships landed and stayed for a few days, proceeded to the Philippines. So this Ladrones Island is what they call the island of Thebes. So the landmark in picture shows the bare spot in Omatak Bay, Guam, where Ferdinand Magellan landed on March 6, 1521 before reaching the Philippines. The Spaniards call this island Islas de las Ladrones, or Island of Thebes. So you see that Island of Thebes because some of their things were stolen by the natives. Umatak Bay was a replenishment station of the galleon trade between Acapulco and the Philippines. The sweet couple in picture is Pastor and Mrs. Baileto F. Bucala, who personally visited the place last February 27, 2005. So this is our vlog for today, guys. And that according to some historians, that there are solid evidences that Enrique was a Cebuano, in that he was the first to circumnavigate the world or the globe, and it was neither Basque, Sebastian Delcano, or any other, or Magellan, but a Filipino, and by tribe a Cebuano. So hope you learned from this vlog, guys, and hope you enjoyed these readings I've read for you. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and see you on our next vlog, guys.